to the cloud. We're going to be continuing our session here with LCD monitors. In reference to this, we'll notice one more time, please. You guys can see hopefully my desktop here. And so here's your plug coming from the wall. I want to make sure you guys are fully aware this must be understood, an LCD monitor and the components within it. Here we are. So we're coming from the wall, coming as AC. There goes a transformer considered just look like your adapter that you have in your for a computer. It's inside, so you can't see that. That adapter sends DC directly into this LCD monitor, sends it over here DC to the actual inverters. The inverters are the ones that actually convert from DC back to AC to give it to the tube. Questions, doubts on that flow? Here's my transformer. More than needs the eyes. Questions, doubts?
So you said the inverters is the ones that convert, or is it the transformer
inverters are the one.
converts?
The transformer is here, right? This guy's here. He sends DC here. He's sending DC to these guys. The inverters are the ones that actually convert from DC to AC. This guy is where you plug in. He sends DC out to everything that's inside this monitor. And these doohickeys here called inverters are the ones that power the light. So if I tell you that the monitor turns on, everything looks okay, but I'm getting no light on, be careful because of the fact that it could be that the backlight's bad, or it could be that the inverters are bad. Hence,
Okay, thank you.
we're not going to be opening these things, but we'll be opening up an actual warranty or something, or maybe sending it out to somebody that's more professional. But we need to understand what they are because they're going to be testing to see if you understand what's inside this actual thing. All right. And then here's your backlights up here. And then these arrows are horrible, just to make sure we understand there's a backlight there, right? And this down here, this thing down here is a backlight. Just want to make sure we're clear. Those goes your two inverters right there. All right. Questions, doubts, backlights, LCD panel, inverter. Nope. All right. Everybody's a professional.
I have a question.
Hey, question. Let's see if I have the answer.
So where's the? So I understand the backlight lights up the screen, but how is the actual where is the actual screen on here? That how is it displayed basically?
LCD panels right here is in front of everything. That's the gray rectangle that they're showing you here. The LCD panel itself with the liquid crystals create the actual image. The
All
backlight
right.
just basically make sure that you're able to see it.
Thank you.
LED, light emitting diode. This one, hopefully everyone recognizes an LED. For instance, my camera here has a little LED indicator to let me know that the camera's on. Likewise, almost everywhere, everybody's seen that red LED somewhere, right? That was the one you recognize, or maybe the green LED that's in the front of your computer or on the side of your computer, depending where you are. We all agree what an LED is? Yes or no? Maybe so.
Yes.
All right. So now hopefully everybody's been brought around these little LEDs. They look like little Christmas tree ornament things, right? So that's just an example. This light emitting diode, they've actually made it so small and they have the red, greens, and blues that facilitates the process to be able to create the image. It does receive DC directly, and it does not need any converter. Any questions or doubts between the LED and the LCD? They almost look identical, but they're not. One uses a light emitting diode while the other one using the liquid crystal. No questions, no doubts. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Nope, you're doing a really great job of explaining everything.
Thank you.
Sorry, just one question about the DC, because it gets it from motherboard, and how does it work? So it's not from power outlet. It's
Correct. No, what they're trying to explain, we'll go back to this picture over here. It does not require this piece here where the inverter is. It will go directly from the transformer straight into the actual logical board, and it'll have everything from here. There's no need to create the inverter to AC, is what they're trying to get to when I say this one, that is coming from the motherboard. Not the motherboard of the computer, if not the actual circuit board or the motherboard that the monitor has inside.
okay. So it has special
Yeah,
motherboard inside. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
yes. Mhm. Every single component that we're looking into here has a what they call a circuit board, which can be used or can be loosely translated to a motherboard. Very loosely transported. Any logical board is, in theory, a motherboard. Okay? Because the logical board in a computer is the motherboard, or a riser card, which is another small motherboard. Why is it called the motherboard? Because she controls all her children that are in her house. Questions, doubts? That's why it's a motherboard. No matter where it is, if it's inside here, we all agree it's a logical board. But in this case, inside this single device, that's what it is. We also learned that inside a hard drive, it has a circuit board or a motherboard to be able to control all of its components. In a video card, again, we also saw that's like a little small computer itself. It has a motherboard, a CPU, and everything else. Questions or doubts on an LED?
What does
All
it
right.
mean?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry. Not a
What does it
problem.
mean
Please.
when what does it mean when it uses less mercury? I don't get that.
You know what mercury is?
Not really. I just know like in like old thermometers that had them in there.
That's what it
That's
is.
that's
Exactly
as
what
much
it
as I
is.
know.
So it's less contaminant for the environment. They're not going to ask you exactly where the LED is. You just need to be aware that it is more friendly to the environment. As for that, it goes and it creates a better image because of the mercury. No, what they're just letting you know, to create this, there's always the environmental point, which I keep on going back to the OLED because they made so much of a big deal about this mercury, but somehow, killing the planet is a problem, but slowly torching little plants from the planet is not. Then I'm not here to debate Peter's problems.
All
Thank
right,
you for
thank
the
you.
question, but that is the reason. Don't bother yourself and think that it actually helps. All it is in reference to the mercury. I can't tell you how it's used in the power in there. I really don't know if it. Maybe it has to do with the temperature gauge maybe that it has inside. I don't know the intricacies how it gets used, but it is a selling point in reference to the environment. That I'm fully aware.
Okay, I see. Thank
All right, good. So fluorescent versus LED. As we know, the fluorescent bulb, don't get confused here where the old tube, that's not what they're talking about. They're trying to compare now again, the same exact monitor that looks exactly the same, is very thin, cute, right? So now you put the fluorescent one that's thicker and heavier. Those are the laptops you'll see. Oh yeah, that one, when I put them side Yeah, that one's much thicker because of the tube, because of all that weight of the inverter and all that stuff. It is cheaper since it is cheaper because of old technology. It is cheaper. It is a lower brightness though. It has much shorter lifespan because of those tubes that are there. We all agree the LED lights, those things last almost forever. I don't know how many millions of hours. I have LED lights right above me now. That's why you guys can see me better. I don't know if in the beginning I was in the dark, but I know in the previous cohort, if you see the videos, it was pretty dark. Same place, but just now I got LED lights around. Uh, higher power consumption, obviously because of the old technology and because the tubes that are in there is gonna be able to pull much more. As we just stated, it's gonna be pulling a lot. It's creating AC. It's doing all these things, generates heat. Where the other side is you can see it almost sounds like all the pros except for the part where it is more expensive. That is the con in reference to LED. It's thinner, it's lighter, it's but much brighter, lasts longer, lower power consumption, less heat generation, but the only thing is it costs more for the consumer. Questions, doubts?
Is this the one that the LED is better than for the environment, or was that the other one, the LCD?
LED is the one better for the environment. That is correct.
Okay. And fluorescent is different than LCD?
The fluorescent
No,
is
fluorescent will be a
LCD.
backlight for LCD.
Got it.
Fluorescent and LCD is the same. What's confusing here is that they're speaking only to the lighting of these two. In the LCD screen, the lighting that's in there is two fluorescent tubes.
Okay.
In the LED monitors, the lighting is the LED itself.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
I got one more point to mention about fluorescents versus LEDs. Fluorescents tends to be noisy, meaning that some technology could get interference. For example, maybe your Wi-Fi can get affected because it's too close to it. Especially your cabling, your cat cables that we'll talk about in the future.
What's another thing that can be interrupting in some of these monitors? One more thing that can be interrupting in these monitors, especially for you gamers. No gaming.
Frame rate.
No. We're talking about
Performance.
doing something to the screen, interfering with the screen, something that would interfere with the screen. But the screen got no problem. But there is an obvious thing because the colors are all out of whack or something. Nobody? Nobody's got those big, humongous speakers, expensive speakers next to their monitor. The magnet of an actual monitor can cause, I believe it is the fluorescent tube, the radion tube, and I believe the fluorescent one for the colors to be distorted. You'll see like maybe even like a shadow on the edge. It looks weird, but just remove the speakers or a little bit away from it, and you'll be surprised it goes away. On the radion tubes, you see a rainbow. On the fluorescent ones, you see like a shadow, if I recall correctly.
That includes the sound bars too.
Soundbar, anything that has a magnet, yeah. We don't want magnets as it is near our computer, but they give us this false illusion that these things that we buy for the computers that we can really leave it real close. And one of the key ones was, I believe it was a fluorescent one. I know radion tube for sure, but I believe fluorescent, yeah, it wasn't LED, because if you put a magnet next to LED, it doesn't do anything. So it has to be the fluorescent ones, the fluorescent tube. Since it has the tubes, it creates some sort of interference with it. And that's the mercury. That's why. There goes your mercury that we were looking for. It's inside the tubes. See, I was going to remember somehow. Questions, doubts? So the old radion tubes has a whole lot of mercury. These ones, the LCDs, has a little bit less, and the LEDs really have very little compared to the three.
Are there any monitors that don't have any mercury?
That's a good question. I think the OLED ones, but we'll see. Hopefully they'll give us, we can ask that question to Google if we don't get to that part here. For this one here, the plasma displays uses actually small cells containing ionized gas, similar to the actual fluorescent tubes. The advantage in this case, though, that it does have much more wider view angles, besides the quality of the picture itself, and less motion blur. You guys know, when pictures goes too quickly, since the refresh rate is not as good, it can create that blur. Questions, doubts on the plasma? So plasma is small cells, more like the name itself, a plasma. But instead of using the tube itself, it's the plasma itself that is used. Oh, all right. From my understanding, is no longer being used. OLED, though, that one we are, which is the organic light emitting diode. This is the one that I keep on crying about. Now, if you could help me out here, Kevin, read this one.
OLED, organic light emitting diode monitors. OLED technology uses a layer of organic compound with emissive electroluminescent qualities to emit light in response to an electric current. This organic layer resides between two electrodes. Although it uses no backlight, it results in a higher contrast ratio than an LCD in low light conditions. This technology is currently expensive and the materials used have a limited lifespan.
You thought I was joking. So what were the keywords that they just told you there? This organic layer between two torture chambers. Hopefully you remember this one. And obviously they turn on the actual electricity and shock it. I want red. Poor little thing. Any questions? Doubts? Hopefully you could tell now between the regular LED, which is the little Christmas light one, compared to this one. It's LED, but using an organic layer to get more colors, brighter. I mean, people. That's that new phone also that you see now that they flip, that new flip phone that becomes a big screen. That's OLED. I'm not gonna be able to do that with a plasma. Good luck. Questions, doubts?
So this is like the worst one to really like invest in, I guess. If you
No, this
want.
is I'm if Peter gets a hold of this, I don't know what to say. It's the best in quality and pictures. This is where your screens are coming now. These 4Ks and all these stuff that are out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to just jump onto Peter's wagon here because I can't understand why we would want to torture an organic. I don't know. It's some type of thing that they're creating there. It's organic, so it is alive.
And that's why it has a limited lifespan. That's what.
Oh yeah, because there's just so
Yana was
much
asking.
torture you could do to this thing, right? How
So
much?
what's like a
How much can somebody be electrocuted before they die? I'm just saying. Sooner or later, it's going to be becoming legal, and everybody's going to come after me. But either which way, obviously, it is some type of organic material itself. It's some like a plant. You can better yet said that they're using, but I can't tell you the intricacies of themselves. So all we need to just realize what it is made out of. It doesn't have a backlight. It's just some poor little mouse being tortured in the background so he can. I'm just kidding. It's an organic material in the background that's being basically electrically shocked to create these beautiful colors. It's just to make sure it sticks to your brain. Please don't go and start saying that I'm saying everybody's getting tortured. But it is, in reality, that's what's happening. That way you'll know it has much lesser lifespan than your LED. Questions, doubts? And these are the curved ones, as you can see. That look how they're showing off, curved. All right. Projectors, more projectors, LED projectors. Everybody's projecting. Why do I need a projector? To be able to do either a front or a rear view of it. So what does that mean? There is special screens that you'll notice that all of a sudden what? Wait, I don't see it like in a theater. Where's that coming from? Well, yeah, actually the projector is behind the wall. You'll see that actually in the home theaters, a lot of people buy the expensive screen. Then basically inside this case is the projector who is actually illuminating in the back of the screen, which creates the actual image onto the screen. Now, what makes it bright? The lumens. The amount of lumens is what measures how much is light being given off by these monitors, or sorry, projectors. So the higher the lumens, the higher actually the more amount brightness that you get. This thing also is able to project and throw its size depending on the distance itself. It can make this fill up a whole wall, and or as we've seen in the movie theaters, if you're all the way back there, you can fill up a whole humongous building wall if necessary. Lamps generate light inside the actual projectors that obviously give off a lot of heat. We need to be fully aware that these things require some type of ventilation, especially in the home theaters. For those that go and put the one that's in the back, if it doesn't have proper ventilation, you're going to get a lot of problems. Any questions, doubts?
I have no doubts.
So your brightness itself is determined by the monitor and its backlights. This is measured in nits. I don't know. Don't give me 100 nits. That is on the lower end up to 1,000 nits. I don't know where that great word came from. Can't tell you anything else except for you're knitting something.
Physics.
Response. Yeah. Response rate. Now this one always kills everybody between the refresh rate. The response rate is the amount of time from all of the subpixels on the panel itself going from pure black to pure white. Anybody know what does that mean to a computer? That's going from all zeros to all 255s on the RGB. RGB, yeah. Red, green, blue. From pure black to pure white. That's how quick can you respond to these ones and zeros from one spectrum to the other. Hopefully that helps. How quickly can you respond from one spectrum to the other? Everyone agrees that these computers only understand zeros and ones, and the colors are represented by red being the first one, green being the second one, and blue being the third one. And they range from 0 to 255. Now that we know what response rate is, how quickly can you respond to these zeros and ones? Refresh rate refers to how often a screen can change or update completely the whole image. Not how fast can you change from white to black and white again, from one range to the other. We're talking about how fast can you refresh my screen. This is the one a lot of the gamers are very picky about because of the fact that that's where you get the little jumpy little feeling where you're getting the lag and all that stuff. Contrast ratio is the difference between the darkest or black and the lightest or white. Question? Doubts? All right. I think this is somebody's here. Did I step on somebody's foot? Somebody telling me 2 to 5. I'm in the wrong place.
It's all right. I can take it from here. All right, monitor settings. Oh my gosh, there's so many settings here. Do you have to know all of these? Well, you need to know most of them. And luckily for the exam, you don't have to focus too much other than VGA, Super VGA, HDTV, HDTV again, but there's different resolutions, and that's what we're going to talk about, resolutions. As you can see, there's so many different type of resolutions, and they're also related to what kind of display port they're using as well. As we can see, the latest and greatest is UHD, Ultra 4K, as people like to call it. And you can see the resolution here is tremendous. So the question is, what is resolution? Does anybody have an idea what resolution is?
The amount of pixels that can be displayed on the screen.
Bingo. Good job, Joshua. That's correct. So you can see this is really bad. You got only 320 times 200 pixels versus Ultra 3,840 times 2,160 pixels. And the most common that you'll probably see nowadays will probably be HD TV, which is 1080p, especially if you do a lot of YouTube. That's the most common. And then after that will usually be maybe widescreen for some people. But that's not think you're here too long, because there's other things that will also help you understand resolution, which is going to be the aspect ratio. Most people tend to have 4:3, 16:9, or 16:10. What does that mean? These are just little cheats that they give ratios for resolutions. 4:3 are more commonly in 640s, for example, 800 to 600. And you can see that these seem pretty familiar. If you were to go on your Windows or Mac and go to your settings, Diego, you think you can show them that quickly so they can see the most common resolutions and the ratios? All computers usually have that.
Okay. That is screen one.
Okay. And screen one.
See if I can get there. Ah,
A lot
Can you
of
see it?
people. Oh, nope, not yet.
you want to go into
Okay.
display settings, right?
You can just right click on desktop. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And scroll a little bit down. And look at that. You have 1,920 times 1080. And that is what natively your monitor wants to run, which we're going to talk about that in a bit, right underneath our slide. And you can see there's a lot of resolutions here, but usually your monitor will give you something known as native resolution.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go back to the slide. Just want to show people that there's lots of resolutions, but luckily, usually your monitor will tell you, and that's why it's called native resolution. All monitors have this native resolution that enables them to display the sharpest picture possible that it can support. If you were to upscale this, as is known, let's say we put Diego's computer monitor up to ultra high, it probably will have a lot of problems and probably wouldn't work. Probably look very blurry because it doesn't have enough pixels. So you have to be aware of what your monitor is capable of, and you may get questions on the exam related to that. And as you can see, these are the common ratios they see here. Now, I'm curious, does anybody know what this ratio is? If they have noticed this, what monitor or device, mobile device, so I give you guys a little tip, is this related to, usually?
iPhone.
4 divided by 3.
iPad?
So I see people saying phones. Would
I
a
would
laptop be
tablet.
considered a mobile device?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes. A lot of laptops tend to have this resolution, especially the older ones. Nowadays are starting to come out. You may have noticed this, and that's why this is a common resolution. Doesn't look like, the ratio is kind of the same like compared to everything else, especially the older ones, but a lot of laptops use this resolution, and also including this one over here, the 1024 and the 768. Just a little trivia there. All right, let's move forward to the next slide and talk about this multiple displays. So I have many displays. Unfortunately, I can't show you because I can only show you one screen, but I could tell you what those settings mean. So multiple displays means that you can have more than one monitor for your computer, and you have different modes. For example, this is multiple display. can present the same desktop on both monitors, meaning it's mirroring. Whatever you do in this monitor, number 1, will be the same thing in monitor number 2. And then you have a way to make them display their own images. Just like you see here, you have a whole picture here. You got 1, 2, 3. They're not mirrored. They do their own processes. And over here, this is a very fancy little, I believe that's not a VKV, that's like a, probably a replicator, which we'll talk about that in the future, or allows this person to have this setup with only one cable. Or some people call them a docking station, but we're gonna talk about that in the future.
This one looks like an adapter that actually splits it up for you. These are expensive, actually. You'll see that from the laptop themselves. This is usually used for video walls, but this guy looks like to be buying it for here. So what happened is that they only have one card in the back, one port. This device then takes that port and creates 3 and allows them to stretch out or extend your desktop. One port stretched out to 3. And I believe you may need drivers so that the OS can do it, or the box by itself does it.
I know it's expensive. I was looking it up because I want more monitors on my laptop. They're port replicators,
it's
scalers.
These are expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive. I was like, nope. But you don't really need to know that for exam. You just need to know that there's different modes for monitor. You got duplication
And extend.
and extend. And extend is the most common one that people use nowadays. I don't see a lot of people use mirror. Maybe for a conference call, you usually use a mirror.
Well, and the teachers use it in the class because they have it on their desktop, and they'll mirror it out on the walls themselves. So they'll have probably a video wall with screens in the background. So in universities, you'll see it that whatever they're seeing on their desktop is being mirrored over here, so that you can see it.
I never thought about that. That makes sense. I thought it would be only good for presentation in the meeting.
Yeah, projectors. Yeah, when you have a projector, right? That's true.
And look, Diego was talking about the privacy filters. Now we're not talking about monitors that were really bad with the viewing angle. We're actually purposely trying to limit the viewing. This way that the only person who can see that monitor is the person up front of that computer, that monitor. And this is something you will get on the exam, at least most likely will be. I've gotten this question at least 3 times. So remember, you see a private, if they ask, hey, I don't want any input to ears drop, shoulder surf, or anything where somebody's kind of like poking or in a public area, and they say they don't want people to look at a monitor, privacy filter is most likely to be the right answer there. And then, of course, you have anti-glare filters. That's just to prevent any glares on your monitor. Nowadays, I think the anti-glare is not that, it's pretty good nowadays. I don't have glare problems nowadays with the newer monitors. But I know back then, especially the CRTs, they were very bad. I believe if you had just one wrong light, the glare would be right on your face. Is that correct, Diego? I haven't used too much CRTs back then.
And why are you assuming I ever had dealt with that? Are you calling me old?
Because you talk a lot about CRT, that's why. You know more than me. I had a CRT too.
Yeah, it's the sun. The sun, as soon as it hits that screen, it will create a glare and you can't see it. It still happens to some of these monitors nowadays, where if the sun is hitting directly the screen, it will create that problem. You won't be able to see because it looks like a big yellow or whitish thing in front of you. For instance, who has gone outside on a sunny day and the brightness is not enough, or that horrible auto thing's not on, and then you can't see your phone?
Me.
Yeah, there you go. That's just, the sun just kills you, right? It's just too bright compared to the backlight on that device. So that's some of these things come up with a anti-glare filter to avoid it hitting the screen, and that extra sunlight not hitting the screen helps you to be able to see the light that's coming out.
All right, lots of good information here. So let's stop here for a moment and ask some questions. Let's see some questions on the chat. So let's see here. How do I find my resolution? There are 2 ways to find that. One, your operating system. So you can just right click on your desktop if you have Windows, for example, and go to resolution. And it'll tell you what is your native resolution for your monitor. That's one method. Same thing for Apple. Apple has something similar. I don't remember how to do that in Apple. I think it's command something. Somebody can correct me there. Sorry, I don't use a lot of Mac. And then for Linux, it's pretty much the same thing. You can right click if you have the right GUI. And that's about it really for the OS. And then the second way for you to know the resolution is checking the manual or looking behind the monitor. One of my cousins, unfortunately, threw away his manual, and he has no idea how to find out his resolution or neighbor resolution on his monitor. So I had to go behind the monitor and look for the serial number, and you can either Google it and find out, or if you're lucky, because the manufacturer is nice enough to actually put what is the capabilities of the monitor. Fortunately, my cousin, not too bright, and the manufacturer wasn't too nice. All right, let's see. Any more questions here? Let's see. Okay. And somebody here wants a 2K resolution. All right. All right, let's move on to the next part. So let's take a little quiz and see how well everyone does. What is response rate? I know Diego was talking about that, and you will probably get a question regarding this in the test, believe it or not. It's a common question. So what is response rate specifically? You got 1/3 of a chance of getting it right if you're going to guess.
The A maybe. A.
Maybe. Well, what about B? And what about C? This is both. I wonder what it is. I purposely made this question very difficult.
No, I don't think it's C. I think C is something else because it's refreshing.
Okay, that's good logic. We can take down C then. Now we got a 50-50. So what's the difference from both of them then? Okay. Not a lot of people voted yet, I see here. So here, we still got a few people left. So far, a lot of people got it right. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's not linger. What is refresh rate? Oh, look at this. The same answers here. The question is, which one is right? I wonder. Oh, a lot of people are struggling with this one. So many people got it right the first time. What can we eliminate? Which one can we eliminate from these three? Anybody has a clue?
B.
C? Why C?
I said B. I don't know who said C.
Oh, you said B. Okay, why take off B?
I don't know. This whole raster thing is throwing me off.
Well, remove raster base. And then look at the word where it says display new image. If you don't know what it is.
Looks like you went all Rastafarian on it and you got all confused. But let's look. I would have to agree with you, Lazaro. Let's look again, guys. So the previous question,
Is it
which one did we say was the previous question? We said it was, we all agreed, or at least the majority I heard agree on this one, right? Could we say then, if we believe that this one is true, then couldn't I mark this one not true here? I don't know. Just me.
Yeah, that's good logic.
All right. So this is where I say that in the test, we need to take note of these questions, because when it happens and you see it there, and then all of a sudden you see that answer here, hopefully it catches your attention that either it's wrong in the other one, or it's obviously not the answer to here. So it's one of the two. In this case, hopefully, since we got a majority to agree that it was A on the first one, we could agree it's not this one. So then I pass it back to you, Lazaro.
All right. So if we know it's not A, then there has to be either B or C. Now the question is, what is the question asking for?
The refresh rate.
Refresh rate.
Refresh rate. Okay.
Refers to how often screen changes.
Ah, so what does that sound like?
I think B.
Very good. And also, if you look at it like this, when the monitor refreshes all pixels and how fast the pixels can change from one color to another, it's asking for two things. So you can easily eliminate C. We know we use A. So even if you don't know what raster base is, or at all what B is, you can select that. I believe Diego has a very famous saying. I already
Well, it's
forgot.
not me, but I'll give it to Spock, which is if you can eliminate the impossible, then anything left, no matter how improbable, must be your choice. Thank you, Spock.
All right, let's go to the last one. Last question. What is the resolution of HD? It is very common.
1080 and by 1024.
B, that's what I thought too.
B, okay.
But D.
Someone said D, okay.
I said D.
Here's my question. HD tends to be pretty crystal clear, right? Would it be a high resolution or low resolution for HD usually?
It has 1080, I know that.
High resolution.
Then high.
But remember, this is resolution.
Let me give you another clue what the number represents. You just said a very good answer. What was the number you just said? That was, I think, Ann. What's the number you just said? Was it Ann? Somebody just said it.
You said 1080.
Thank you. You 1080. Somebody just said 1080. What does 1080 mean when somebody tells you 1080?
1080p.
Okay, I agree with you. But where is it? Is it when I tell you it is 720p, is it in the front or is it in the back? Forget about vertical and horizontal, because one means vertical, the other one means horizontal. Where is that number usually located? I just heard somebody say it. It's usually where?
I always thought it was in the back.
Thank you. So she just told us the answer was 1080. Therefore, logic would dictate it has to be either C or D. Do we agree with that?
Oh, got it.
Oh. So now that we got there, it's in the back. Hopefully we remember that 1090 is not a 16:9 resolution. A 16:9 resolution would be this one, which is the 1920 by 1080. So that's one key way of knowing what does that 480i, the 720i with the 1080i means. It's in the back end. Vertical is the first one versus horizontal, which is your up and down. Be sure you understand that that's what it means. The first one is vertical, how many pixels go across, versus how many comes up and down. Vertical, no, wait, yeah, vertical up and down.
Yeah, you switched to
I got it backward. I got it backwards, sorry, but you get my point. It is the one with the bigger number is the one that goes across, which is obviously the horizon, sorry. And then vertical is the one that goes up and down.
All right, good job, guys, on those 3 questions. 3 questions. Only a few of them you guys were struggling with, and that's good. I want you guys to struggle. By struggling, we are able to know that, hey, you're thinking, you're actively learning, and hey, these are hard questions. I purposely made them very hard where you have to rethink, go back and forth. So that's a very good job everybody did there. Very good job. All right, and this little review here. We got the resolution, we got the ratio, and it even tells you typically what they're used for. Look at that. Oh, look, widescreen laptops. Oh, look, more laptops. Oh, look, even more laptops. And then you go to standard resolutions here. You got 1619. And all these things. Now, for the exam, I do recommend you still go do your flashcards and try to remember the most of these. If you want to be productive in what you need to know for the exam, you definitely want to know Super VGA. You definitely want to know HDTV. You also want to know about WXGA. You also want to know HDTV 1080p, which some of us got confused and realized, look, that is the real resolution, the back end actually. And also know these two over here for 4K. And you should be mostly good for the exam when it comes to this right here when it comes to resolution. Luckily for the exam, they don't really hit too hard on this. They usually give you like a little hint or tip. So use little hint and tips when they are asking you the question about screens. All right, now let's start talking about list of ports and connectors for your devices. We got here VGA that we're mentioning, the old school blue that Diego was talking about last class. You got yourself a DVI, the digital. Some of them are audio, which we'll talk about that in detail. And then a lot of people nowadays use HDMI and display ports. We still use those nowadays still. We're moving more into now Thunderbolt, which we're going to talk about in detail about that. And then we got these really old kind of Pong kind of things that we use for displays. Who here played the Super Nintendo? Oh, I got hands up for Josh, Benjamin, a lot of people. Okay. Remember those 3 Pongs that you use that connect to the TV in order to get a display and then you can hear the audio? Does anybody remember that?
The colors. They're different colors. Yes.
Usually the yellow was the color, and then the white was the left, and I think the red was the right. That is basically what I'm talking about here. And then this one over here has even more colors, meaning more power and display. And I'm going to show that later here on Nearpod. And then you got coaxial cables for TV. That's the old like cable that you guys may have seen where you can screw it or unscrew. And then we got some adapters to convert, which is very common nowadays, that you're probably going to have some form of adapter somewhere in your house. So let's just jump into it. All right, here we go. We got the VGA port. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with this. And remember, it has 15 pins. And these are abbreviations that you will see, DB15 or HD15. That is the standard. This is analog. Now, on the exam, sometimes they do put this abbreviation, DB15. So if you see DB15, they're talking about VGA. So remember that, the VGA port, you got yourself here the male and the female. And it's also known as RGB, red, green, and blue. Now, this is the one that you're probably going to maybe panic a little bit, but there's a little trick to this. So DVI stands for Digital Visual Interface. You got yourself digital only, digital or analog only. So what does this mean? Well, unfortunately, when they were designing DVI, apparently they wanted to make it compatible with everything, then they decided maybe it shouldn't be compatible. All you really need to know is the following. Some are digital, some can do both. One is only analog. And you can look at the patterns. Analog is the easiest. It only has a few pins. That's how I remember this. Then we can go over here where it says digital only. How do I know it's digital only? The trick is this little line here. If you see this line here, that means it's digital only. And notice that some of it says dual link. That just means a little bit more bandwidth, if I remember right. Can anybody confirm that for me?
That is correct.
Yeah.
That
more
is
bandwidth.
higher. A dual link is in reference to the actual interface. Instead of being only single, it's dual. You'll see that then it has a full grid on the right. That's the dual. Versus the single has a monkey in the middle.
Mm-hmm. And then over here, and this is how I remember it can do it all, if it has little squares on the left side. With, of course, the line. And you can always know the difference from single to dual by looking at the space. If there's a space, it's single, not enough bandwidth. If it's dual, everything's full up, got more bandwidth.
Dual channel, yeah. That is
Dual
correct.
channel.
Which
So
enhance
hopefully
more
you can use that to
faster.
help. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
Which you're correct, which means it's better response, much faster.
Agree. So hopefully that little trick can help you remember the difference. Usually, if you see DVD, think of D as digital only, I for I have everything, and then A for audio. Hopefully that will help you out. And Marvin said he's gonna make a Kahoot. Be ready for Kahoot, guys.
Are they gonna show us? I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are they gonna show us those diagrams, or are they gonna show us the actual connector pictures?
They'll show
They
you
may
either or.
show the diagram, or they may show the diagram, or they may just ask you specifically which version will do what they're asking to do.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you need to be able to recognize either the connector at a fly, which is equivalent to this diagram. Be very careful with these connectors because, as you can see, it's exact same shape. It doesn't matter which of the three it is. There is no difference in shape. And what's dangerous is that obviously, if you grab the wrong connector, it will not go. A DVI-I will not go into a DVI-A female point. A DVI-A adapter will go into anything that is a DVI-D, for instance. Why? Because I have all the holes available on the female side. So even if you'll notice here, these male are missing completely. They went and castrated this guy over here. While this guy, he's got all his. So therefore, the female will have all the holes. Be very careful. I've seen it happen. People go crazy. They replace a monitor because they got the wrong cable or the wrong adapter.
That's right. All right. Let's talk about HDMI. I'm pretty sure a lot of people here are familiar with HDMI. I love HDMI. It's able to transmit digital video and audio at the same time with one cable. Not like the Super Nintendo where you had 3 plongs you have to put in. All in one. Nice. And it was designed for home theaters. So that's also why it's so convenient. Now for exam, be aware of this. It does have 19 pins. That's going to help you. So remember that. Who here remembers how many pins are the VGA?
15.
15.
Correct. This one has 4 extra. So remember that. And then here we have smaller versions, kind of similar to form factor if you think about with USB. This one looks somewhat like a mini, and then like a micro. Definitely this one looks more like a micro. But there are HDMIs. So that's why you need to know the pins, because on the exam you may get a diagram and they may trick you. And if you don't know the pin amount and you get confused because you're not recognizing the form factor too well, because there are differences, you may get it wrong. So be aware of that. Also be aware that the quality of these HDMIs do vary. This isn't real life. They do vary a lot. And the length can also be a big factor when it comes to signal of HDMI. I don't know if you guys ever bought cheap HDMI, especially cheap and long cables HDMI. Usually they don't tend to work all the time. I don't know who had experienced that, but I experienced it many times.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how these Fortune 500s try to cut corner and they don't understand what a quality cable is. And then you start getting those calls in because of the fact that that video wall room where the CEO wants to talk to the vice president, they can't. Everybody's all going crazy, and it's the beautiful cable that they've decided to use. I would have to agree with you. No, the only thing I needed to tell you, though, unfortunately, is that my ice cream truck just passed by.
Ice cream
So
for ice
this
cream.
recording here is at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 o'clock for Washington. Recording there. Resume it. Thank you. Thank you. So we were speaking in reference to the HDMI. Now, can somebody tell me whose cousin is this? If I would tell you that this was actually a USB cable, what cable would you tell me this is? Just the one on the right, that one right there, so I can hone down about something in reference to this cable.
It looks like the micro.
Yeah, but what would if it was USB? Would it be A, B, or C?
B.
All right, all right. Now that we agree with that, they like I say, they gotta come and mess with you. Here comes a HDMI. So I said, okay, how can I remember this? Well, A, that's the typical HDMI port that I'm used to. This one right here. A. It's no longer rectangle, but at least hey, that's the typical guy that I'm used to. As for the other HDMI, if it says it's an HDMI cable, because it will, but it looks like these little micro beads and that we're used to, or mini beads that are out there, or whatever it is that looks like a USB weird one, then we know that it must be the letter C. It's still 19. It does not have 5 or 4 that USB usually has. Questions or doubts on identifying this cable and what we mean by they're going to trick you if they throw you these pictures and they don't, and why you need to know the pinout. All right. Here, Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt. Ayana, help me out with this one, please.
Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt combines PCI Express and DisplayPort into one serial signal and additionally provides DC power all in one cable. It can be used to transmit video and/or data. It has a maximum length of 3 meters using copper cable. Thunderbolt 1 and 2 can achieve up to 20 gigabits per second and use the same connector as mini DisplayPort. Thunderbolt 3 uses USB Type-C and can reach up to 40 gigabits per second. In use by Mac Pro, MacBook Pro, and MacBook Air.
Yeah, so whoever has those Mac Pros out there, they'll probably recognize those very easily. As for us, people that live in reality and are not rich like you people, we don't recognize this. But what we can recognize, hopefully, is that Thunderbolt itself. They're going to make it very easy so the name coincides again with the little icon that they're going to give you. Any questions or doubts? Here we are, your composite video. You have your always the red is right. Just remember that. From there, you can work from there. But red is always right. That makes sense? Yes or no? For somebody that doesn't understand me, please let me know. What I mean by right, it is the right channel for your ear or audio. Then you have your white, which obviously is has to be the left, because if it's not red or being your right, then white. As for the yellow, yellow is the video. So work from red. Hopefully you remember the white is right to the left of it usually. Look how cute they put it. Usually they put it in that order. But either which way, if they don't put it in that order, let's say yellow was below it or whichever it may be, red is always your right channel. White is the other sound channel. Therefore, it must be the left channel. And then yellow, which is left, is the one for video. Any questions? What type of video is this? Is this digital right here? These, if I use these three, is that a digital signal?
Analog.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer. It broke up on my side.
Yes.
Somebody said analog.
That is correct. It is analog. Just remember, if you ever forget which one's which, analog is the old one versus digital is the new technology. All right. Here we are. Any questions on this port here? What is this port used for?
Video.
S video. That was the one that came right after the one that's here. You can say, I don't know, to try to put it in layman's terms, you can consider this to being the old, just trying to say something so you can stick to your head, the old 256 VGA, while this would be considered to SVGA, which is, you know, the 800 by 600. kind of view, just in layman terms. I can't remember what's the exact resolution, but I'm just trying to give you an example so you can see that it is, though, what type? Is it digital or analog? I'll give you a clue.
Is it digital?
I'll give you a clue.
S video.
The whole slide is the same thing.
Analog.
Hey, yes. So that is analog signaling. Thank you. That was very smart, you guys. This here now, this is what? What port is this guy?
Audio.
Headphone.
This
Headphone
is
jack.
a audio. Unless they won't mess with us. Yeah. This is no. Apparently no. It has a little icon. You are correct. It is that type of jack, which in this case, I don't remember the size of it, but it is that type of jack, which is confusing. But if you'll notice, it has a little antenna on it. So in this case, since it is that exact same jack, just like we can say these three jacks are exactly the same jack, in this case, it has an antenna, which is indicating that it is a TV antenna port. You'll never see that nowadays, but I guess what they want you to know is that if it has that little antenna, then you will require this to be able to go to coaxial for the antenna to connect to your computer. That's almost impossible to find nowadays. But all of these are analog signaling. This is composite video, and this is how you can get it into your computer. Basically, all they're just trying to show is the various different ports that are out there. Although we do agree this is antiquated and most likely 99% chance that you're not going to find these out there. Too much. Rephrase that. Anybody have a question? So why is red, green, blue together the same signal? And what else do we know about red, green, blue? Why are they trying to make sure you understand this?
Those are the main primary colors that form the boundary of all the different colors that you can see.
So this sends a signaling in this port, for instance, the signaling of the amount of red, greens, and blues that need to be shown on the actual picture. Now we also need to understand when they told us in reference to pixels, is pixel one green, one, and then another pixel is the red, and the other pixel is a blue, or is it the three together creates one?
No, I think it's the red and the blue.
Red, green, blue together?
All of them together creates one.
From my understanding. From my understanding, that is correct. So when you're looking at the actual resolution of what they're talking about, that's what I mean by how many pixels go across. That's how many groups are going across and down to create the pictures on your monitors. Questions? All right. Next slide is composite video. Here's your actual cable that you will use with your connecting from the computer towards the actual device that you want to get. So it splits, obviously, in this case, the red, green, and blue into different components because of the fact that the actual other unit that you're connecting to, it actually has those colors in the back of it. You would connect it in that order, and then again, the white and the red is going to be grouped together. Be very careful as we see that there's two red, green, and blues. Sorry, there's two reds, and because of the fact there's the red on the audio and the red inside the red, green, and blue is what I meant to say. So be careful with the two reds. I've seen people by mistake connect this one and that one in the wrong place. The way to tell, hopefully, if somebody didn't do that, is that usually those three come together. I do agree, all five come at one point together. But when it gets to the extremes, those three are usually together. They're not really that much apart. You can pull them so much apart, but then those three are together and then the other two are again together as one when it comes off the 5. Anybody getting confused on what I mean by the 5? Because they're obviously they make it all as one big humongous cable, and at the end they split it out for you. You'll see the reason I'm saying you'll see like a little coupling where it was all of a sudden from this arm you'll see a group of 3 and a group of 2. Questions, doubts?
Sorry, what's
When
the
I'm
group of
looking
2
at the
is
book,
for?
it's saying that the green colored lead carries the luma, not a green color. Am I misunderstanding something, or?
I'm sorry to repeat
When I
that
look at the
question.
book for the component video, it says the green colored, the color cable carries the luma, doesn't actually carry the green color.
What page is that on?
It's on 160. I'm sorry, did you hear me? I don't know if anybody heard me.
We're I'm not sure if you heard him. We're trying to look that up in exactly what he's talking about. While we're checking into that detail for you, what I do want to note, obviously, is that there is 2 red cables, and that is the most important thing to be able to decipher. At the same time that we put on both sides the information. So you're saying it deals with lumens itself?
Yeah, it says something about it carries a colorless map for the detail of the image. I don't know, that the whole lumen section I have to reread anyway, but.
Okay. We could always look into that, and then the afternoon session we'll dig into that one if you don't mind, Kelly, to understand exactly what's about. Thank you. All right. That's a very good question. Man, if I had little bonuses for that, give you guys a cookie every time you guys can stump me, right? That one I didn't know. I could have sworn it had to do exactly with red, green, and blue. That's the first time I ever heard that. So I do apologize. But we'll look into that. S video, that is your super video port with 4-pin or 7-pin round port. Usually in the back of video equipment. A lot of times even used on your cameras now. Not really nowadays, but you might have seen it a lot in the older cameras. Any questions on recognizing an S video port, what the male or the female connector looks like? No? So what is his name? Anybody see there? A name, what type of, if I would tell you a DB something, DB15, you know what I'm talking about usually, right? Or DB9. So what is this one usually called if it's not called as video? Usually it's going to call as, yes. Be very aware of his cousin's name or his nickname. In this case, I would say they might throw that curveball at you. That one I've seen a Mini DIN 6. I've seen that name several times, and the first time I ever saw it, I was completely confused because I'm used to the name S video, and you should have seen me walking around with this stupid cable that had gotten the help desk, which was an S video. And somebody told me, "No, you need a Mini DIN 6." The guy was on the other side of town. I was in Miami Lakes, to put anybody who knows Miami, and the other one was in the airport. So I had to basically go 10 miles, and I'm here going crazy until Google really didn't. Did Google? I don't think Google was up and running. Was somebody help me? Google up and running in 1999? I don't know. It was. I don't know if it was a popular search engine. I know it was Yahoo or something like that. But basically, I didn't know. I didn't know one was the same thing as the other one. Either which way, take note. Adapters and converters. We need to be fully aware of these puppies because of the fact that these will kill us. As you see here, you'll see that this one here is what, from what we saw earlier, the one on the top. It has apparently everything. There's no gap in the middle. And I'll give you a hint. On the right side, it only has the line.
It's the digital, the DVI.
DVID.
Okay. What does the line in the middle here, if it had a line in the middle, what does that tell me?
It's analog.
No, if I had a gap here in the middle, what would that tell me? So I want to make sure we know.
It's a single.
All right. So
link.
now we know that since it's all together so far, that part of the name we know is dual link. Do we agree?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Now on the left, the line here, or the two dots, or the four dots, what does that mean? So in this case, it only has a single line.
It's DVI
I or D.
Digital.
It's DVI.
Is it a DVI-D?
It could be I or D.
Digital and analog.
Oh, come on. Y'all gonna have to vote and convince me.
I'm just gonna stick with my original DVI, but it could be the D too.
Wait, are you saying none of us got it yet?
I don't know. You tell me which one's right. You guys tell me.
I'm going
Which
with
one are we
the
looking at?
Come on, it's digital.
top left. Does anyone think it's the DVI like me? Come on, all
We
you
know it's
silent.
DVI. We know it's
Oh,
DVI,
that's
but is it
DVI.
DVI-I or DVI-D or DVI?
It's DVI-I.
I DVI.
dual.
That's what I meant to say with the I. That's what I was trying to say with the I. DVI-I.
I thought that in order for it to be the I, it has to have a plus sign.
My fault. My fault. It's the DVI-D.
Yeah, I think it's DVI-D.
Yeah, because the DVI-I got the two dots on each side.
Okay. Okay, I'm persuaded.
Wait,
DVI-D.
which picture are we looking at? The one on the left or the
First
right?
one on the left. This one right here.
Oh, okay. I thought we was on the second.
Right here, this guy, the one the mouse is on. So he's got. We will agree it's a dual channel. So we know that much. Now we're looking at it. It only has a minus sign. It doesn't have apparently the four prongs around it.
Well, that's a DVI-D dual link.
All right.
DVI-D.
Now, as I'd like to always do to myself, how can I remember that? Why do I know that it's only one thing here, right? So is it a D or an A? If it was an A, what would it be? If anybody remembers, what's an A look like?
It has a plus sign.
It's weird. It's a weird shape.
It
It doesn't look like a rectangle. It doesn't look like a rectangle or two squares of the groups. That's the first thing that we need to remember. Remember that the first thing that I told you is that it was a DVI because we knew it was our only choice was is it analog or is it digital one, right? I'm sorry, is it integrated or is it digital at that point? Why? Because had it been analog, we wouldn't have been debating if it was dual link or not because it looks weird. It doesn't have either a rectangle on the side or that gap in the middle. Did that make sense? So I can make sure that we all understand how to go like that and make sure. The one that looks weird, that there's no way that I can't decipher, where I have to decide because of the fact that I'm lost. The only way I can get lost is because it's either DVI-I or DVI-D. Why? Because at that point, at the same time, I need to choose is it single or is it dual? Now that we know which one I can get confused, the only one that I shouldn't get confused is the DVI-A. And the DVI-A doesn't look like a rectangle or a square that has a gap in the middle. Two squares because of the fact that we split that rectangle in the middle. We feeling good yet? Hopefully. So the weird one is DVI-A. The one in that when we have the rectangle and when we split that rectangle with the gap in the middle, that means it's single instead of dual. Now that we got past that, we could always think about the fact that if we have less things, it must be less technology. If it has more things, then it must be more technology. Hopefully that helps and give you the answer. So now that I gave you, hopefully, what A, I, and D is, can somebody tell me what this is?
DVI.
It's missing teeth. I would be a lot, while D would be only giving me a little bit. I'll give you that much of a hint.
DVI-D dual link.
Yeah, I understand that you do say that digital is better than analog. Completely agree with you. Now, what I'm trying to say, it gives me more because it gives me more features, gives me more things. The 4 dots give me the actual analog signaling, while the one in the middle give me the digital signaling. Did that make sense now? No, maybe so, or the other way around.
Yeah, it's like what Laz was saying. If it has more, it's I can do everything.
Mm-hmm. So when it has everything filled out, that has to be the DVI-I. When it has it all, there's no pins missing because it does everything. Questions? So the one that does everything has the whole grid filled out as DVI-I. And then that DVI-I can be either single or dual channel. The only way that it will be the difference is because that rectangle has got that gap in the middle. Those are your two choices of DVI-I, single and dual. Now your DVI-D can be either single or dual. It's the same thing with the gap in the middle. But in this case, he would be missing the actual, I believe, 4 teeth around the signal because he only is using the digital, not the analog. Any questions, doubts? So what's this guy then? If now that I gave you all the answer in reference to DVIs, this
Dual
guy's got the whole,
DVI.
yeah, dual DVI-I. Good. Down here, then we have the DVI, which we don't know in the background, to the what?
HDMI.
All right. And this guy here, what am I connecting to here? What video port is that?
15 VGA. 15 VGA.
VGA, yeah. VGA, right? But why is it female connector? Huh. Why would it be female connector there? That looks weird.
Then you have to put in another adapter.
An adapter.
It is an adapter, but why is it female at this point? Why is it female? Can somebody tell me why I need to make sure
Because
that
the cable is male, usually.
Thank you. That is, it will be male because it's meant to go to the back of the computer. We all agree the blue port is female, so it's expected to go to the actual computer. At this point, this adapter is going to then enable you to use this VGA cable connected to the back of it, imitate like if it's connecting to the correct port, and then it has the pin out that goes out on the other side, which most likely I would have to take a wild guess. If this is a VGA port, who can take a wild guess what type of DVI is on the other side?
DVI-A.
Thank you. Most likely an A, correct? It's got to be 99.999999 chances that, unless your computer, it happens to have anything else like a I, right? But either which way, the signaling, we agree, the only thing that's gonna work is gonna be the A because it doesn't have a digital signal and the adapter won't convert to digital. That's why I want to make sure we don't go waste our money. So now my computer in the back, I look at it, it has DVI-I, the full grid, but this monitor is VGA. Don't waste your money on the more expensive part. Why? Because this DVI-A adapter will connect to the back of a DVI-I, and it will work in that case. Why? Because it has the whole, it can do anything, right? Like somebody said earlier. So it will use only the analog signal at that point, and it will convert it internally. Any questions or doubts on these adapters? Hopefully the other one should be more easier. What's this down here?
Looks like a Thunderbolt or USB-C.
Or just,
Looks like a fire wire,
I can't
but
really
I could
see.
be wrong.
I'm almost getting inside this monitor and I can't
I
tell
was
what
about to say, Dio, can you make it any larger? You probably can.
I can if I can get it closer to my face. Hold on a second. No, I don't think I can, but I'll try my best. Hey, look, it did zoom. Now I can't scroll down. That's hilarious. It's down there. I would have to guess. If I had to take a guess, it looks to be like it doesn't. I mean, it looks very close to me in HDMI. So I would have to say the one that I always like to call the HP port, Hewlett Packard port, which is the display port. So there, display port to DVI. Here he is. And the last one here is apparently an HDMI. Maybe if we would have read HDMI to display port. HDMI to. Hello. Questions? Doubts?
These will show up on the
What the
Kahoot.
hell? All right, I believe I get to pass this off to Kelly.
Yeah, we're gonna probably try to cruise this a little quickly because we also have another T session we got to get through. So, let's see, Kevin, can you please help out?
So video cards. Video cards are also called graphics adapter cards or display cards. Most motherboards sold today have one or more video ports integrated into the motherboard. Video cards improve the video output when its video port is used rather than the port on the motherboard. Allowed to use more than one monitor at the same time. Video cards are connected to an AGP or PCI Express slot on the motherboard. The fastest slot to use is a PCIe by 16 slot. The main manufacturers are NVIDIA and ATI Radeon.
Excellent. Yeah, and as we were talking with Diego earlier, we found out that essentially a graphics card is also like a small computer that you're putting inside the computer. It has its own processing unit, it has its own cooling fan, and everything. It has its own memory. And you can see the parts. I can't really point to them, but you have the cooling fan there up on the top. It's a circular part. You have the heat sink next to it to help, keep the memory units cool. You can see the tabs off to the side where it slips into the PCI 16 Express, and then they have little notches on either side so that it can be secured in, similar to a RAM card. And also on the back end of it, you can see our 15-pin analog video port and our DVI video ports, as well as in the middle, the S video connector. Typically, you don't come across those very often, but you will see them on occasion. Any questions so far? Oh. All right. Real quick. What's this one up top? Who can give me this one? Shiloh. On the upper left, number one.
Is that a USB micro?
Hewlett Packard. Remember my name? Hewlett Packard. There goes that Packard bell sign right there. Look at that P. Look at the P.
Who just
Is that a HDMI mini or micro?
Wait, Ayana, did you just speak?
It's a display port.
Yes, absolutely correct.
Oh, okay.
And cute how they do this. Look how they're messing with you. You see now, hopefully, a D, and look at the P. There's a D and a P there. They're using the icon just to mess with you. DP, display port. Weird, but that's why I always call it a Packard Bell, because it looks, to me, it looks like a, or an HP. It looks like a weird icon. I see P for port, display port. It's the only way I can remember. But I would have to agree. It looks like a USB A kind of cable or something weird, right? So now that they put the extra icon, then that helps you, hopefully. It is a video cable, no longer a USB cable.
All right, number 2. Let's see here. Nicole, can you please help out?
Yeah, it looks like a USB-C cable.
Number 2?
Yeah. Oh, never mind. It's a US. Oh, is it?
It's
Can't.
to the bottom. Number 2's down, not to the right, by the way.
Oh, okay. That's
That's
okay.
his shock, by the way. I got you. That's why I had to help you out. You were going the wrong way. 2 is going down.
Okay.
That's it,
So
right?
that would be. I think that's a DVD dual link. DVI-D dual link. There you go.
Very good. Very good. Because it doesn't have the extra 4 prongs above and below the little minus sign. Number 3, Fadil.
Is that a USB?
Not quite a USB.
These are all a hint. These are all, not to trick you. These are all cables that have to do with video, right? So let's see if we can at least try to throw those in there. It won't be USB, any of these. I'll give you that much of a hint.
Any other takers? Walk.
Firewire.
Close.
Mini display port.
No.
Thunderbolt.
There you go. Thunderbolt.
What did she say? Oh, Thunderbolt.
Excellent. Number 4, Josh, can you please help?
Okay. Is that the DVI analog?
Nope.
It's got a weird shape with those pins. All right. VGA.
There you go.
VGA.
There you go.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Josh. I believed in you.
Next one. Elizabeth, can you please help for number 5?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, number 5. Is that some kind of like audio analog? I'm not quite sure.
It's not audio.
The video?
Audio does come through it, but it's audio and video.
I'm sorry, I don't remember the proper name for it. I just remember it looks like an analog cord.
Okay, can anybody remember the name of the cable?
Coaxial cable?
Exactly, coaxial. There's 2 types of connectors you'll have in a coaxial. There's the old school ones you would see on the back of your TV where they screw in. That's called an F-type connector. And then there's this kind where it kind of goes over the pins and then twists, and it's called a B and C connector. All right, finally, number 6.
Oh, I have a question about that one, if that's okay.
Okay.
Is that the same cable that they use for cable TV?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's the same kind of cable they use for cable TV, but there's 2 different types of connectors that they will use. And like I said, the one you're probably used to seeing is the one with like the threaded screw on it. And that is called an F-type. And then you have this, which is called a BNC. And there are different names that people will use for BNC. There's kind of, depending on who you ask, BNC means something else, something different. And
It is the name of the guy who created it, though. And see See if you can see this. I'm not sure if it lets you see it.
Well, that was one of the theories. There was another one that there was a second name that they go by too.
Bayonet.
Yeah, Bayonet. There's two guys. It was Bayonet. I can't remember the second guy's name.
Yeah. As for you saw the actual
There you go. Bayonet Neil Councilman.
councilman, yeah. Bayonet Neo councilman. They some genius came up with, you know what? I'm tired of actually screwing things. Do you think we could probably come up with something that just lock in place? There we go. We should come up with something. So
Like a quick disconnect, reconnect.
It's a quick
Really
connect.
well,
quick.
yeah, it's so to avoid, you know how when you're going into these panels, especially in token ring, this was very famous for using for networks for token rings. So instead of disconnecting and connecting, you could just see that this screwing on and screwing off, especially if it's been there for a long time and from the energy going through there, they kind of get stuck. We would agree from being there. So now this little device just locks into place. It would like it's kind of springly loaded. So it locks into place and it helps from your regular composite video. You remember that white, red, and yellow? Those a lot of the times would just disconnect a lot. In this case, I can replace the video cable with this, the two audio channels with this type of connector.
Yep.
And all right.
All right, number
Our
6.
previously
Muhapa.
Micro B.
Looks similar, but it's different. It's component video and audio.
Okay, HDMI. Micro.
There you go. HDMI. Very good.
Yeah, what letter then if it's exactly is that one? It looks to be big. So it looks to be normal, I think, right? I can see it looks to be
Yeah, it looks normal.
HDMI looks to be big and normal. So which one would it be? HDMI what? It's a
A.
normal one.
B.
Hey, it's normal. My
you
typical
go.
one. Yes, thank you. All right.
Wait, the mini one isn't the mini one type M too?
Nope.
The mini one is C. The small one, the ones
Yeah,
that look
like the
like
mini.
bees, like the bees, the ones that look like little bees. Yeah, those are called C connectors. HDMI C connectors.
Oh, okay.
All right. Troubleshooting common monitor issues. These are issues you typically will come across, and basically how you would, troubleshoot them. Ghosting. Does anybody know what ghosting is?
An after image on your screen.
It's a latent
From-
image. So it looks like there's a ghost of whatever you were looking at. Streaking. You got the lines across the screen, fuzzy vertical edges. Maybe it's not showing a particular color like red, and then you have bad pixel, which could either be a pixel is out, or it could be a on pixel, which one is white, where it's basically stuck on, and then you have a stuck pixel, which will be set at a particular color. And there's typically two ways you would deal with bad pixels. Can anybody take a guess as what the two ways would be?
Replace monitor.
Replace monitor is one. Yep. What would be the other one?
Could you like make the whole screen that color and then make it not that color?
It wouldn't be usable after that, but yeah, you technically could, yes. But it would basically be just a light, I guess, at that point. No, the other way with bad pixels is pretty much just deal with it. If it's just a couple pixels, it's not really affecting your image too much. It may not be worth replacing the monitor, so you just kind of deal with it. But if it gets to the point where it's affecting your images, then you go ahead and replace the monitor. Flickering images, dim images, and then a hissing noise, which if you ever get that one, you will remember it.
Sounds like a snake for sure.
Yeah.
Why would your TV hiss?
Because the inverter is going bad. And like a power supply, it either goes bad slowly or it goes bad quickly. We had the one in our house go bad quickly and had blue smoke coming out the back of the TV. So you tend to remember it when it happens. So here's the basic fixes for it. You know, if it's ghosting, streaking, fuzzing, vertical edges, it's likely cable connectors. You know, so you want to check your cables, make sure that they're secured. If you're still having it, try replacing the cables. If you're still having it after that, it's likely a video card. But it could also be that the video card is just not seated properly. Because remember, some of this stuff creeps over time as it heats and cools. One color missing, again, comes down to a cable issue. Bad pixels, we just went over this. If it's under warranty, turn it back in. If it's not under warranty, you're kind of, gonna have to eat the cost yourself and either deal with it or replace it. All right, flickering image on this one. See, I haven't called on yet. Anne, can you please help?
Flickering image with an LCD usually points to either a very inexpensive panel with too much light bleed from the backlight or dying CCFL backlight. LEDs don't flicker. Replace backlight if necessary. A dim image, especially on only the top or bottom half of the screen, points to a dead or dying backlight in a multi-backlight system. If LCD system distinct hissing noise, an inverter is about to fail. It can be changed if needed.
And there's another one. It's like the, for a while there, you were seeing LED/LCD. And what was going on there is they would actually have a LED grid behind the LCD screen just to backlight it so that they could, isolate the light more to give you better contrast. And sometimes if the LEDs are starting to go bad on that, you will actually see patches that are darker versus like the bottom or the top. You'll just see like a little block that's, darker than the rest. And that also would point to a backlight issue as well. And lastly, got a quick little match quiz.
Lit pixel, it goes with, oh, I forgot.
What does the lit mean?
Pixel that is stuck pixel.
The third one in from
Lit,
the middle.
yeah.
Well, you're going to match the description with a picture.
Okay. Oh,
What is a picture of what you're talking about here? So which one of those would be a lit pixel?
The one with the white arrow and the black screen.
Very good. That's the one. So the pixel is all the way on. So it's everything at once. That's why it appears white. Next, go with an easy one. Broken monitor. Who wants to do that one?
I know,
It's the
bottom
last
right.
picture.
Bottom right. Very good. That one's definitely a cable issue.
It is sometimes it could be a problem between the pitcher and the catcher. Never try to send the hard drive via airmail. That's the only thing I can tell you.
A stuck pixel. Who wants to take a crack at that one?
It's the one with the red circle bottom at the bottom and that arrow white screen.
I think second top.
Second top. Okay, anybody want to break the tie?
The second top one.
Second to the top. Okay. Damn. There you go. So we'll go back down to that one on the bottom. What
I thought that too.
I think that's a dead pixel then.
Dead pixel because it's not lighting up at all.
I was just testing you guys. See.
Testing.
That's a good test.
All right. Low refresh rate.
Bottom left.
Bottom
I got two choices.
The one with Google.
One with Google. Anybody else?
This is the bottom left one.
Okay, you're a tiebreaker.
Bottom left.
Bottom left.
Which one you
I
looking
think
for
it's
again?
Oh no, it's
No.
the Google
No.
one. It's the
Wait,
Google one.
which one are you looking
Google
for?
one.
It ain't
What are you
so
looking
easy
for again?
now.
Looking for a low refresh rate.
Bottom
No,
left.
no, that's the Excel.
Say Excel.
It's
no.
the Google one. It's the Google one.
Google
Because
one.
look at the other one that's left. The other one that's left says fuzzy and fuzzy streaking, and the only one that looks like fuzzy streaking is the Excel one.
Exactly. So
Google
we're
look-
looking at the
Google look like
Google.
some streaks. Google look like some streaks.
Google. Yeah,
Okay.
let's have a gentlemen and women's bet.
All right, let's try the
I
Google
mean-
one. Low refresh rate.
Which one then? Finally,
Google
I'm
one.
already
Google,
Middle,
Google,
right-hand side.
Google.
Google. All right, I would have to agree that you are incorrect.
Oh.
Ah,
I knew it was bottom.
Josh,
Now, why would we know those that said it was?
blow up
this?
the Google
Why
image?
do we know that this is it? Which we kind of hinted on this several times, but we never told you one quick way of telling what something's refresh rate is. Why does this tell me that this is the refresh rate?
One area is like darker lines and then the other lines like one area is like white, then dark, then white, then dark. Could be that.
It's
And that would
possible to
indicate
see that it's flickering.
And it would indicate that it's taking a long time for the pixels to change, right?
Yeah. And now the way I am able to tell that it's this is I'm pretty sure it's happened to everybody. You're going and you're probably throwing a video at home and the TV is behind you and you're seeing this invisible black line that just keeps on going down. You look back with your eyes, you can't see that. Now you know what's damaging your eyes at home. Your eyes is your brain cannot see the refresh. I'm sorry, your eyes and your brain see the refresh rate, but they make it invisible to you, the human, so that you do not see this. I don't know if
Doesn't
you're aware of
register.
this. This actually, your brain is going so fast. That's why they say the hand is quicker than the eye. That's why magicians can mess with your brain. Because of the fact that it's so quick, it's not able to tell you everything. Same thing with your peripheral vision. So now that you can hopefully remember that little home video where you're seeing it refresh, that is its refresh rate. You'll see it coming down. How fast can I refresh the screen? Therefore, this would have to be the refresh. Anybody wonder why this one is now the fuzzy streaking?
Look at the
Can see the
bottom of the
difference?
screen.
You can see
You
it
see
up
how you
top
can read
too.
it?
The
yeah, it's
colors coming
streaking. I
across.
see.
It looks like an old newspaper or some weird thing where or weird printing is going on. So that's a variance. The other one, although we didn't have a video of it, had this had a video of it, you would probably get it real quickly, but that's what it looks like though. Any questions? If the refresh is messed up on it, you would see something weird like that. Because then physically, your eyes will be able to see it because the refresh. So what's one way of fixing that refresh rate, if anybody knows? If the monitor's fine, what's really wrong?
The computer.
Correct. I got, but what is wrong? Where can I go fix this? What's wrong on the computer? Really, guys? What is it?
Is it
What is it?
the
Graphics card?
resolution?
Don't. What's
the
the word?
backlight?
The word. What?
Oh, backlight.
What is the word? The word that we just said. We just said the word. It's right there. What is that? What is this picture? What is the picture itself?
Pixel.
Pixels.
It's no, the picture itself. What type of error is it? It's a what? The error. No, before the streaking and fuzzy. Sorry, the other one. If it was the one that was over here, the one right before streaking and fuzzy, the one that had this right here.
The low refresh rate.
Okay, So what do I gotta go fix in the computer?
The
The word
resolution.
was, the word was?
Refresh it.
Refresh rate.
Refresh the
Low
computer.
refresh rate. So therefore higher the refresh rate on the monitor inside or the settings inside the computer. Did that make sense, hopefully? The error is low refresh rate. This means that, as we stated earlier, inside your settings inside Windows, you're allowed to change the refresh rate. So be careful that you go and replace a monitor and that it's not an ID10T error where a user went and lowered the refresh rate on the settings, hence causing this to happen.
And to answer the earlier question, the green component on the component cable,
Mm-hmm.
it is a Luma, but what it does is it creates the black and white map of the image. And then the other two put color onto the image,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So one creates the image of, like the map of the image, and then the others just put color on top of it.
Okay. Questions, doubts? Hopefully by this time, we should be able to describe the different types of displays and their respective characteristics. Describe the purpose of projectors, the different settings of monitors and how to adapt them. Identify the video ports and their connectors, and identify the common pitfalls and problems that we may come up with. Any questions or concerns on this session before we stop the recording?